completing my journey to Deadpool and Wolverine with Deadpool 2. So let's review. And just a reminder, right now my MacBook is right now getting fixed, it's getting the battery replaced. So until I get it back, right now I'm just going to be getting you reviews in the form of a Tik Tok format. So here we go. Deadpool 2 takes place sometime after the events of the first film. Wade Wilson is living a peaceful life with his girl, and now he's a global mercenary. But then his girl Vanessa gets killed, and so he tries to find a new leash on life by basically taking this young kid under his wing named Firefist. But Deadpool accidentally steers the kid in the wrong direction, and so now Deadpool is basically spends the rest of the movie trying to get him back on the right track because Cable has come from the future to assassinate Firefist for something that he does in the future. So basically, it's a time travel movie in which Deadpool is trying to save the soul of this kid. Now, I remember when Deadpool 2 came out, at the time, I think I liked this movie more than I did the first film, and I still do at times, but I think what I like more about this movie than I did the first movie is that it's just a little bit more funnier. The meta and fourth wall breaking jokes, it just hit a little bit more than the first film, in my opinion. And I remember Deadpool 2 being one of my most anticipated movies of 2018. It came out right after Infinity War, and it was a good year for Josh Brolin because he was Thanos in Infinity War, and now he's Cable here. And since then, Josh Brolin, he's just been on a roll. But like I said, the meta jokes are just a lot more funny this time around. Like in the beginning, where they make a reference to Logan, which came out a year before this movie came out, and Deadpool, he was just like, fuck Wolverine. First, he wants to ride my coattails with the R rating, and then he wants to up the ante by dying. Well, guess what? I'm gonna die. He even makes a meta joke about the box office success of the first film, in which he says, I'm in the same centers as Jesus. First Passion of the Christ, and then Deadpool. And then, of course, you got other lines where he's fighting Cable, and he's like, so dark! You sure you're not from the DC universe? And then later on in the movie, where Cable's trying to explain why he only got but so many, I guess, time travel charges to go back, and he just can't go back or whatever. And then Deadpool was just like, well, that's just lazy writing. And that's a line that I have used in my daily life ever since. But I do like Deadpool / Wade Wilson's arc in this movie. And Ryan Reynolds, he continues to show why he was perfect for this role. This is his role, for sure. And I like his arc. He basically loses the love of his life, and now he's trying to find a new lease on his life by taking this kid under his wing, and then things go wrong, and then he just has a poor attitude about it, and accidentally stirs the kid into the wrong direction, and so now Deadpool is fighting for this kid's soul before Cable kills him. And like I said about Josh Brolin, he was on a roll during this year. He had two of the biggest movies of that year, 2018, and he was great as Cable. I just wish that we could get more of this character more. And it don't even have to be played by Josh Brolin. I just wish we can give a proper arc about Cable because he is the son of Cyclops and Jean Grey. So hopefully they'll explore that in the future. And even if they do get Josh Brolin back, awesome. And he was just perfect as Cable. He was funny when it needed to be funny. He was tough when it needed to be tough. And it really is the character off the comic book page. You got my girl Zazie Beetz in this movie where she plays Domino, and she somehow has the coolest power in which she's just lucky. It's just lucky things happen to her, and it just sets off a domino effect, and she had one of the coolest scenes in the movie. And it's just said that we probably won't get to see this character again in Deadpool or Wolverine. I mean, maybe they will, and they're just hiding it in the trailers, but hopefully we can get more of this character in the future. But as for this movie, Zazie Beetz was awesome. Then you got the kid who plays Firefist. I'm blanking on his name, but I know he was in this one movie where that was directed by Taika Waititi. But here he was great. He definitely plays that moody teenager that gets set on the wrong path. And even his backstory, you're like, I understand why you are the way you are, but you just basically, as Kendrick Lamar once said, you're a good kid that needs good leadership. So let Deadpool be your mentor. I even like what they did with the X-Force in this movie, even though they was only in the movie but for so long. Basically, they were just there for trailer fodder and to basically make a joke about how you get one successful action movie, and then the next movie you try to team them up with other people, and then you think it's going to be just like any other action sequel, but then it turns out they all die. Expectations subverted. Then there's the second incarnation of the Juggernaut in the X-Men movies. The first one, he's like, don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. But here, I guess you could say he's more comic accurate, and he's also voiced by Ryan Reynolds with some voice modulator, of course. But he teams up with Fire Fist so that Fire Fist can get revenge on the orphanage that was basically torturing him. And even when he fights Colossus in the end, it is probably one of the coolest things ever. Another meta joke in this movie where Deadpool makes, where he's like, "Go get him, Tiger! Big CGI fight coming up." And more X-Men jokes in which Deadpool, he makes more jokes about how every time he goes to the X-Mention, he doesn't see everybody, but then you look behind him, it's everybody from the first class X-Men movies. You see James McAvoy's Professor X, you get Nicholas Holt's Beast, and they just close the door to him like, "No, mind us," because they don't want any part of Deadpool's nonsense. Like I said, I mentioned Colossus. He returns in this movie. Negasonic Teenage Warhead returns in this movie, and apparently she has a girlfriend who is Yukio, who I remember seeing in The Wolverine, but it was played by a different person, but now it's here, and just more timeline nonsense here, and how the X movies are just inconsistent with each other. But hey, it's multiverse, so different versions, I guess. Why did I mess up on that? Marina Bakarin returns as Vanessa. She dies in the first couple of minutes of the movie, but then she's brought back to life for some time travel BS in which Deadpool, he gets Cable's device and he goes back in time and undoes everything, including going back to X-Men Origins Wolverine so he can kill not Deadpool, or the Merc without a mouth, as I like to say. I remember when I saw that scene in the theater, not only is one of my favorite mid-credit scenes, but I swear to God, I gave this movie a standing ovation just for that alone. I was like, thank you. There's even another mid-credit scene in this movie in which Ryan Reynolds, has the script for Green Lantern in his hand, and then Deadpool comes from behind him and shoots him in the head. Another standing ovation moment. And even in the director's cut of Deadpool 2, we see earlier in the movie, Deadpool made a reference about, why don't you just use the device to go back in time to unalive baby Hitler, in which in the director's cut, he almost does, but then at the very end of the credits, he's like, I can't do this. One thing I also got to mention is the music, because Ryan Reynolds, he reviewed the soundtrack for Deadpool and Wolverine, and I think one thing I don't give enough credit to the first two movies is the soundtracks, because it does have some good needle drops here, and then but one cool thing that they do in this movie with the original score is, because you know how when you hear an original score, you hear the opera singers in the background, they're like, oh, 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 and but here they have them be like, holy fuck shit balls, holy fuck shit balls. I was like, that's creative. Overall, like I said, I think Deadpool 2 is funnier than the first film, but obviously the first film is a much better film. But I love both films equally. I'm gonna give Deadpool 2 the hard eyes emoji.